Now note, in the seminar training, the participants are hypnotically regressed at this point. I tell them, in just a minute, you're going to regress back to your past in this life or a past life to find the cause of the sexual situation that you'd most like to explore. If you have deep-seated beliefs about sexuality that are working against you, what are they? Consider the primary belief that may not be serving you, and in just a moment, I'll regress you back to the situation that set it into effect. Now, following the hypnotic regression, I ask the participants to share what they've experienced in this process and to ask questions. Those desiring to release repressed fears by sharing their sexual secrets are invited to do so. Now, this is always a cathartic experience for everyone in the seminar room. Okay, here are some of the follow-up dialogues. I have great sex with my husband, but when I masturbate, I always fantasize about doing it with a big black man. I don't even know any black men, so it's kind of strange when this turns me on the way it does, Mary said, stroking her fingers through her long blonde hair. She was in her late 20s or early 30s and dressed like she'd just stepped out of the pages of Elle magazine. What was the cause? I asked. I was a black woman married to a big black man in San Francisco about the turn of the century, I think. We lived in a little apartment over a store. My most vivid impression was of him coming home and me waiting in bed. He was dressed fancy, like he worked some place that required him to dress up. I just laid there watching him undress while he stared into my eyes, smiling. Wow. Okay, here's a second dialogue. When I start to have an orgasm, I panic, said Beth, a demure-looking woman in her 40s. I'd like to be able to scream with joy, but instead I bite my tongue and keep from expressing anything. My husband doesn't even know when... She smiled shyly and looked at the floor. You're in a safe environment to discuss it, Beth. Maybe it will help to integrate the fear, I said. She nodded and said, In regression, I only saw one scene, but it was very vivid. I was a male with long black hair, and I was sneaking into a tiny room illuminated by something burning in a dish of tallow. And the walls were plastered in mud, and my lover lay on a bed of animal skins. She welcomed me with open arms, and we immediately began to make love. I think we made too much noise because men came rushing into the room and grabbed me and dragged me outside. And naked, they tied me to a tree, and the girl's father lit a torch. They made her watch, and when she screamed, one of the men held his hand over her mouth, and her father placed the burning torch beneath my genitals. Now Beth's voice quivered. As you instructed, there was no pain, but my emotional reaction. I counted myself up out of hypnosis. False fear, Karma, Beth. Your subconscious mind is programmed to believe that if you make noise during sex, you'll be punished. Now explain this to your husband, and then confront the fear by making loud, passionate love. Once your subconscious realizes you won't be punished, it will probably get over it. But this seemed to be in ancient times. I've had other regressions, and I know I've lived many times between then and now. Why would I have waited so long to confront this? Well, karma doesn't necessarily unfold in sequential time. Each incarnation offers an opportunity to best confront particular programming. Sometimes you wait until all the key players can reunite. And I've seen effects like this that carried over from lifetime to lifetime. You may not have openly expressed during sex for many incarnations. Cause and effect works in many ways. As an example, in a following male incarnation, the fearful punishment could have resulted in impotence. Beth nodded. The girl's father in that past life could be someone in my present life. Maybe, I said, you could find out in hypnosis. It probably explains the relationship between my husband and my stepfather. Okay, Here's the third dialogue, following the Bushido sex process. I'm gay and I have a lot of lovers. After that process, I don't feel so guilty about it, said Scott, a casually dressed young man. Well, some people use concepts such as freedom and openness as rationales for failure to relate wholly to anyone else. If that's what you're doing, Scott, it isn't working. Oh, he said, sitting down. All right, here's a fourth dialogue. My marriage is a menage a trois, said Jonathan, a well-dressed man, I guess to be in his mid-40s. For 11 years I've lived with a woman and another man. David and I are bisexual and Debbie is straight. So we each have 2 lovers. It's always seemed so natural. I asked, Is it a good marriage? Jonathan laughed. I don't know how it could be better. We all love and support each other. 2 male incomes give us plenty of money. Debbie stays home with the children. She had 1 child by David and 1 by me. The only external problems that our marriage has created are with the teachers at the children's school. And of course the IRS refuses to recognize our union. He paused. Anyway, I wanted to know why it felt so natural to live a lifestyle so alien to what society accepts. In regression, I experienced a society where multi-mate marriages seemed to be the order of the day. We all wore togas, and the buildings were white and open, and it was warm. Maybe Atlantis or a country on the Mediterranean. He shrugged. It was a happy, loving, open society. I was a female living with 3 other females and 2 males. I guess you'd call it polyfidelity today. Okay, here's the 5th dialogue. I have a hard time reconciling religion and an open sexual attitude, said Lorraine, a woman in her late 30s. Whose religion? I said. All the major religions seem to repress sexuality. I said, the pagan religions have existed far longer than Christianity and have few sexual taboos. They believe that it's wrong to have sex with someone who is in a monogamous relationship, or to cause unwanted pregnancy, or to spread sexual disease. But even sex outside of a committed relationship is acceptable if it fulfills the pagan ethic of, and it harm none, do as you will. I continued. In Zen Buddhism, sex is included in the 3 pillars of Dharma under moral restraint, and is explained as refraining from actions of sensuality which cause pain and harm to others, or turbulence or disturbance in ourselves. Adultery is also one of the precepts in the 6 paramitas of the Bodhisattva. It is explained as meaning that the person having sex with another must consider his own happiness, that of his companion, and of the 3rd person who will be most affected by his action. If these 3 concerned people can be satisfied, then the sex act comes under natural law and is completely acceptable. Well, I would like to think that way, said Lorraine. In this life, at age 10, my mother caught me masturbating, and she took me to the parish priest, who made me do penance. And from then on, when I attended Mass and he looked at me, I knew he was thinking about it. That's why I rejected the church when I went to college. Well, you know now that masturbating wasn't wrong. Except that your beliefs have been programmed by a church whose teachings you no longer accept. She nodded. Accept karmic responsibility and let go of the blame and guilt. In daily meditation say, I know the cause of my sexual viewpoint and I release the effect. Chant it as a mantra. Then forgive yourself and forgive your mother and the priest and the church. Send them all white light and let go. Also, fully explore your emotions and beliefs about sex and about who you are and what you want. Awareness can lead to liberation. All right, here's dialogue number 6. A sexually open attitude is one thing, but polyfidelity just isn't acceptable, said Diane, a stocky woman in her 40s. She held one hand on her hip as she spoke. I said, "Study history and you'll find that polygamy has often been more common than monogamy. But I'm concerned with the present. Nearly half the people who read my magazine and attend my seminars are single, and many are looking for and not finding the right mate. Others are unhappily married. Then, consider the divorce rate and the number of single parents. Relationships and family units are destined to take many different forms as we move into the next century." Here's dialogue number 7. "In a time of AIDS, endorsing multimate relationships is absolutely irresponsible," said Frank, Diane's husband. I said, "Statistically, AIDS has not significantly altered the betting habits of singles, nor have married people ceased having affairs. For some of these people, pledging monogamy to a safe group might be the most responsible consideration." "But you're arguing that it's much more desirable to be non-monogamous." "No, Frank," I replied. "I support the right for everyone to choose what works best for them. Remove the stigma and labels. Monogamy is okay. Consensual non-monogamy is okay. Polyfidelity is okay. Triads are okay. All equally okay." A monogamous marriage is obviously the relationship choice of the majority of the population. Now, if monogamy works for you, I can see no reason to explore alternatives that might alter the existing dynamic. The following quotes and excerpts are not intended to demean monogamy, but to share some alternative ideas and approaches to relationships. W. Brow Joy, M.D., is a spiritual teacher who wrote Joy's Way, a map for the transformational journey. The book changed hundreds of thousands of lives. A decade later, he wrote Avalanche, chronicling his spiritual evolution and exploring many aspects of life, including monogamy. Here's a quote from Avalanche. "I have come to doubt that the human being is intrinsically monogamous. Monogamy feels to me like an idea superimposed on reality, or a defense against forces beyond the control of the rational and intellectual selves. Ample evidence exists that the human being functions very well in polygamous social settings. In societies such as those in Italy, which have withdrawn civil sanctions against divorce, multiple sexual relationships are freely explored. Of course, these relationships were going on all the time anyway. Our mouths, under the control of the mind, say one thing while our bodies go right ahead and live the suchness of life." End of the quote. In the book, Words from a Man of No Words, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh says, "Why be confined to one love? Why force yourself to be confined to one love? Because nature does not intend it so. Nature intends you to know love in as many ways as possible, because what you can know from one woman, you cannot know from another woman. What you can know and experience from one man will not be experienced with another man. Each love is unique. There is no competition. There is no quarrel." In her book, Love Without Limits, Dr. Deborah Anapol explores responsible non-monogamy and the quest for sustainable intimate relationships by offering relationship models which replace the destructive marriage, divorce, remarriage cycle with ethical and responsible multi-partner relating. Historically and cross-culturally, monogamy has not been the only legitimate choice. And it's likely that we're doing irreparable damage to our human ecosystems by trying to force all sexual loving relationships into the monogamous mold. Dr. Anapol convincingly maintains that instead we would be better off determining when and for whom non-monogamy is appropriate, and then embracing it fully, openly, and honestly. She says, "Our exclusive monogamous culture enshrines jealousy and possessiveness. Instead of working to eliminate jealousy and possessiveness so that people can freely choose how they will mate, our civilization tends to establish cultural and moral barriers that eliminate legitimate alternatives." All right, now, here are some types of alternative relationships from Deborah's book, Love Without Limits. Primary relationship. Lovers who are in a long-term, committed, marriage-type relationship are primary partners. Usually, primary partners live together and share finances, parenting, and decision-making. Primary partners are not necessarily legally married, but they are bonded together as a family. Secondary relationship. Secondary partners may also have a long-term, committed, sexual loving relationship, but usually they live separately, have separate finances, and see themselves as close friends rather than immediate family. Secondary partners may take on roles in each other's families similar to those of aunts and uncles in an extended family of blood relations. Trietary relationship. Lovers who spend time together only once in a while or for a brief time. Their contact may be very intimate, but they are not an important part of each other's day-to-day life. Responsible non-monogamy can be practiced by any number of partners in any combination of primary, secondary, and trietary relationships. The diversity of form automatically creates a social environment different from our familiar, homogeneous, avowedly monogamous culture. And this diversity of form challenges us to develop ethical guidelines which apply to the quality rather than the form of the relationship. All right, now, here are forms of responsible non-monogamy, again from Deborah's book, Love Without Limits. Open marriage or open relationship. These are both non-exclusive couple relationships, the only difference being whether the couple is married or not. In this scenario, the partners have agreed that each can have outside sexual loving partners. A wide variety of ground rules and restrictions may apply. Okay, next. Intimate network. This is a love style in which several ongoing secondary relationships coexist. Sometimes all members of the group eventually become lovers. Sometimes individuals have only 2 or 3 partners within the group. The group can include singles only, couples only, or a mixture of both. Another way to describe it would be as a circle of sexual loving friends. Next, group marriage or multilateral marriage. These are both committed, long-term, primary relationships which include 3 or more adults in a marriage-like relationship. A group marriage can be open or closed to outside sexual partners. And next, a triad. 3 sexual loving partners who may all be secondary, all be primary, or 2 may be primary with a 3rd secondary. It can be open or closed. A triad can be heterosexual or homosexual. It is often the choice of 2 same-sex bisexuals and an opposite-sex heterosexual. The setting free. In the end, for any kind of a relationship to be free, all partners must maintain their integrity and individuality while, through their union, increase the potential to be all they can be. On the last page of my book, You Were Born Again to Be Together, I said, being totally idealistic, what would real love be like? Well, to begin with, it could not be diminished by anything the other person said or did. Your love would not be dependent upon being loved. You would give freely without any expectation of return. In an environment of real love, you would allow total freedom to your mate, expecting no more than the other could give. You would love for what the other was. You would not expect your mate to change, to be something he or she was not. You would find joy in the other's happiness. To really love someone, you need to be complete within yourself and without fear. You will then find joy in the positive aspects of your relationship and allow the negatives to simply flow through you without affecting you. Now, in an attempt to attain this ideal level of love, here are a few tenets to illuminate the path. Respect differences. You and your partner or partners have different needs, motivations, goals, and dreams. Treasure each other's uniqueness and accept each other as you are without expectations of change. Trust. To trust others, you must trust yourself. When you can trust without expectations, you integrate your fears. In any relationship, trust is built one encounter at a time as the result of keeping agreements. Commitment. Totally commit to your relationship, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. Withholding reflects doubts that will undermine the foundation of your union. Compassion. Provide comfort to each other in the midst of worldly concerns. Be friends as well as lovers, and let your union be a refuge of balance and harmony. In showing compassion, don't sacrifice yourself, or it will create resentment. Know that whatever you do for others, you really do for yourself, and then do it anyway. Detachment. Let the little things go. Before reacting negatively, ask yourself, does it really matter, or am I just acting out of the need to be right? Communication. Openly communicate and share yourself. The greatest gift you can give each other is to be all of who you are. Be willing to discuss needs and compromise solutions. Listen. Listen to each other and be willing to appreciate the other's position, even when you don't agree. Also, learn to hear what isn't being said, what your partner or partners is feeling and needing. Know what you need, ask for it directly, and make it all right for your partners to say no. Time. Always make time for each other. Shared activities are the building blocks of a good relationship, and these are activities in addition to sex and watching TV together. Remember, too, everyone needs time alone. Transcend anger. Release anger by saying to yourself, I am angry because I didn't get what I want. I had expectations of approval or control, and this isn't my right. Spirituality. Encourage each other to evolve spiritually by helping each other to integrate fear-based emotions. Through expanded awareness, you can transcend the darkness and attain peace of mind. Chapter 7. How to practice radical spirituality. There are thousands of metaphysical, New Age, and Guru-led organizations in the world, and they agree upon very little except reincarnation and karma. Radical spirituality accepts these concepts and the human potential logic handed down from Zen to modern-day psychotherapists. You don't need much else to guide you down a powerful path. The rest of the New Age arsenal is smoke and mirrors and complicates your quest. The following 69 reminders, now note the yin-yang symbology and circle of energy in the number, summarize the path. To me, It's the only Bible you'll ever need. 1. Your earthly purpose is to integrate your fear-based emotions. Doing so creates an absence, leaving only your God self to interact with the world. In your quest to attain the absence, you will sometimes integrate a fear, become fearful again, then integrate the fear again. Don't be discouraged, because one step at a time you can build a self-actualized foundation that will lead you to your goal. 2. Everything you think, say, and do creates karma, and that includes the motive, intent, and desire behind everything you think, say, and do. 3. Karma is the basis of reality, which means you are totally responsible for everything that has ever happened to you. 4. It is your resistance to what is that causes your suffering. And remember, what is unalterable reality. 5. Truth isn't something to be found, it's something you create. 6. Practice meditation, which is training the mind to stay steady on an object without wavering, and cultivating insight to see more clearly the process of things and the nature of Dharma. 7. When you don't allow life to fully express itself, you are repressing who you are, and there will be a price to pay. 8. Be patient, compassionate, and generous. Accept your kindness as self-serving, and do it anyway. 9. Give up your expectations of others. If they come through, great. If they don't come through, that's okay too. 10. Avoid gurus and religions. They're bad for your mental health and they want your money. 11. Blame is self-pity and incompatible with the acceptance of karma and reincarnation. 12. Incorporate challenge into every aspect of your life to guarantee aliveness. If you don't make your life interesting, your mind will do it for you. 13. Beliefs are not reality, but if you want to change your reality, you have to change your beliefs. 14. Don't take things personally. Whoever is giving you grief would be giving grief to anyone who represented to them what you represent. 15. What society calls right and wrong, and moral and immoral, is not necessarily so. 16. The point of power is now. 17. Practice being in the moment. 18. You will always live up to your self-image. 19. You cannot become what you resent. 20. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. 21. Wisdom erases karma. 22. When you show mercy, grace, and love, you will receive the same in return. 23. You always have free will to choose how you will respond in any situation. 24. When you're upset about the way it is and do nothing to change the situation, you are choosing to allow it to continue. 25. You don't have to be in control to survive. 26. What you leave incomplete, you'll be doomed to repeat. 27. Karma means you don't get away with anything. 28. Within you is everything required to make your life happy and fulfilling. 29. Practice unconditional acceptance of others by refraining from judgment, blame, and expectations. 30. Other people are a mirror for you because the traits you respond to in others you recognize in yourself. 31. Everything manifest begins with an idea. Ideas and experiences create beliefs, which in turn create reality. 32. Awareness is measured by how much you let yourself know of your own truth. 33. Everything you refuse to forgive in yourself and others remains with you as karmic baggage. 34. What other people do does not affect you. What you think about what they do affects you. 35. We are all mirrors of our own thoughts, so unhappiness and failure are self-inflicted, while happiness and success are self-bestowed. 36. Every time you get upset with someone else, it is because you have expectations of approval or control, and your expectations are in conflict with what is. 37. If you want to understand something or someone, you must observe without criticizing. 38. What you resist, you draw to you. 39. Whatever you can conceive and believe, you can achieve, as long as your desires are realistic and do not conflict with the free will of others. 40. What you deny to others will be denied to you. 41. Love others as you would be loved, treasuring their uniqueness while accepting them as they are. 42. The greatest gift you can give to another person is to be all of who you are. 43. In your heart, you know the right thing to do at each moment in time. 44. You can detach from the chaos in your life by refusing to choose to control the outcome. 45. Your viewpoint determines how you react to life. You're always free to choose a different viewpoint. 46. You need difficult people in your life to provide opportunities to test your resistance to what is. 47. What your mind has created, your mind can change. 48. The primary reason people aren't as happy or fulfilled as they desire to be is that they do not know exactly what they want. 49. Simplicity is one of the key secrets of well-being. 50. Refuse to make a choice based upon the expectations of others. Instead, act in ways consistent with your purpose. 51. Imagination is more powerful than willpower. Change begins with imagination. 52. Practice being centered, physically relaxed, emotionally calm, mentally focused, and spiritually aware. 53. Practice persistence. Increasing self-discipline is a matter of building the strength not to give up. 54. Very little in life is really important, so separate what is from what isn't. and respond only to what is. 55. What you resist, you become, if not in this life, in the next, unless you learn to let go of your resistance. 56. In life, you experience what you are deeply convinced is so. 57. Value being who you are more than being accepted. 58. You are body, mind, spirit, not body and mind and spirit. What your mind doesn't handle, your body will try to resolve, draining spiritual energy in the process. 59. Suffering is also the source of your awakening. 60. When you're upset or life isn't working, become an observer by mentally filtering the situation through the observer's detachment. 61. You will never succeed beyond the size of your vision, so think big. 62. The universe will support your clearest desires. 63. Pursue your desires with no indecisiveness whatsoever. This assures you of getting what you want. 64. You will achieve self-actualization momentarily, lose it, then go after it again. Eventually, it sinks in. 65. Never use fear as a justification for avoiding life. 66. Never do things you will have to karmically punish yourself for. 67. Never do anything that causes you to lose self-esteem. 68. Forgive others, knowing that forgiveness is a selfish act you do for yourself to elevate karma and improve the quality of your life. 69. Wake up.